at my full-time job, I now make total compensation between $250,000 to $300,000.
You literally finish your bachelor's as well as your master's degree in 5 years?
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
Overachiever, so not surprised at all.
So I recently interviewed this one engineer, and he mentioned that he's never had to apply for a job ever in his career, because the last 2 jobs, actually the founders of those companies that he ultimately worked at reached out to him via Twitter. People who use AI will replace those who don't, because if I can do something in minutes that takes someone else days, companies are always going to prefer me over that other person.
Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. In today's video, we have Sajjad, who is joining us all the way from Virginia. He's currently visiting Seattle, and I thought, why not we sit down and talk about Sajjad's career journey, how he got into CS, what inspired him, his salary progression, and some of his tips and tricks on how to become a top 1% software engineer, and also his AI hacks as a developer and as a software engineer that all of you can learn from. With that, let's get into it. Welcome to my channel.
Thanks for having me.
Sajjad is actually in Seattle right now, attending Build.
Yeah,
Microsoft Build, and you met Satya Nadella yesterday?
Yeah, I did.
How cool is that?
Exciting conversation.
Awesome. Cool. So Sajjad, let's get started. If you could tell us a little bit about your career journey, how did you actually get into computer science? What sparked your interest?
For sure. So my interest in computer science really started back when I was in grade school. Going in elementary, middle school, math was always my best subject. I was good at, algebra, the calculus in high school. And then ultimately, once I was going through high school, I decided to take computer science, computer math, AP computer science. And something that really resonated with me in math and in computer science was you're a problem solver. And really that sense of accomplishment of solving problems was really impressive to me. And particularly within computer science, being able to solve problems quickly and at scale was super impressive. Like in my computer, I can type some code that can have impact from here in the United States to all the way to Australia, to New Zealand, to India, all across the world. And that was just mind blowing to me. And so I decided that this is the field for me, and I pursued it further, did internships, and here I am now.
Did you know how much money software engineers make back then? Or was it like a nice surprise?
I didn't know exactly the salary, but I knew that software engineers got into companies like Amazon and Google, and I guess I just always assumed that they were the richest.
Yeah.
So I knew that money wouldn't be a big issue in this.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So did you have any pressure from your parents, from your family? Because Asian parents tend to be either doctor engineers or something close to that.
Thankfully not. I mean, my dad, he's in the computer field, and I was just naturally inclined to it. So no pressure. If anything, my parents tell me to chill out sometimes.
Wow.
They're too hard. They're the opposite of most Indian parents.
That's
very nice.
I mean, I'm not surprised because you literally finish your bachelor's as well as your master's degree in 5 years?
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
Overachiever, so not surprised at all. But a TLDR of how did you finish it? Your community college credits, if you can
Yeah.
If somebody else wants to do it.
Yeah, so I graduated from high school in 2019. And then I graduated my bachelor's in computer science in May 2021, within 2 years. And I completed my master's a year after that in May 2022. And the way that I did all of this was coming in from high school, I took a lot of AP credits and dual enrollment classes. And I had a total of about 60 credits, which translates into 2 years worth of classes at Georgia Tech, where I went for school. And so once I was there, 2 years, 4 minus 2 is 2 years. So I got to complete that within 2 years. And while I was doing my bachelor's in computer science, I took some of my elective courses at the master's level. So I got credit for my undergrad and master's when I was there. So by the time I started my master's, I had almost half of it already done. So I got to do it in 1 year as opposed to the typical 2 years people do masters in.
Yeah.
So that's how I speed ran it.
No, that's awesome. That's the best money hack tip.
Oh, for sure.
You can give everybody.
Yeah, as an out-of-state student, college is expensive.
Yeah. Were you out of state?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's even more money saving.
Yeah.
So talking about money, could you tell us your salary progression since going from broke college student to like getting your first internship and then now like making it big?
Sure. So my first official job was back in 11th grade. I was a tutor at Mathnasium, in which I made $10 an hour. The following summer, I actually entered into tech. So this was the summer after 12th grade. And I did a data engineering internship. It was a simple kind of like data tracking, not really too much machine learning or anything like that, but simple video data stuff. I earned $12 an hour.
Wow.
And
how old were you?
I was 17 years old at the
17.
time.
Okay. And you were in high school?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or just completed high school, the summer after 12th grade.
Got it.
Then the following summer, so my freshman year of college, I was 18 years old at this point.
Okay.
I got my software engineering internship at Amazon. I earned $45 an hour. Plus, I got a $6,500 housing stipend.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And what was super nice was the internship was remote because of COVID. But even so, they let us keep the housing stipend.
Interesting. And what year was that?
2020.
2020. Okay.
Yeah. Then the following summer, so the summer of 2021, I decided to pursue a different company in which I was a software engineering intern. I made $45 an hour there.
Okay.
And I had a great time, a great experience that summer actually translated into a fall internship. So when I went back to school for my master's, I was also working part-time for that company. Just to wrap up my project to get it shipped out to production, which was super cool to do as an intern.
Nice.
And so I had a great relationship with my team. Obviously, they liked me enough to extend me.
Right.
And on top of that, they liked me enough to offer me a full-time job.
That's awesome.
And at my full-time job, I now make total compensation between $250,000 to $300,000.
Okay.
And it's a range because the stock price fluctuates. My company is based out of California, the Bay Area. But I live in Northern Virginia, the DC area.
Okay.
So I got a little bit of a decrease compared to the Bay Area, but still better than most. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Is $45 per hour typical for software engineer interns?
Typical, very location dependent, company dependent.
Got it.
I would say for Amazon now, I think it's gone even better. I've heard people getting $70 an hour or even higher depending on the role and the location.
That's not too many years though, 2020 and 2025, so only 5 years.
Inflation though.
When I was interning at Amazon, that was back in 2013, I made about $40 an hour as a data analyst intern. And I'm surprised that they only jumped from 40 to 45.
Yeah.
They jumped from 45 to 70.
Yeah.
It's crazy, That's awesome. My internship was also similar. Like I originally was supposed to do like a 6 months internship, and then it ended up being 9 months.
They extended you.
Yeah, they extended me, and I was like working part-time and also doing school at the same time. Okay, so moving on from the salary progression, now let's talk about for people who are already working in the industry or want to get into the industry and become top 1% in their fields. I know this is an area that you speak very regularly about. You have gone around universities around US. How many universities have you spoken at?
At least 10 by now.
10 universities within US. So if you can give us like a TLDR version of your talk that you give at these universities to become a top 1% software engineer or a data scientist or a data engineer, if like the skills can be applied.
For sure. Yeah. So I would say to become a top 1% software engineer, it comes down to 3 main categories. So the first one is peacocking.
Okay.
So this is a term that's used widely in corporate America because, so you know how a peacock is very colorful, it's very beautiful, good to look at?
Yeah.
But the key thing about the peacock is it's beautiful, but it also flaunts its feathers. So in corporate America, no one is going to say, oh, you do good work, let me promote you. No. You have to do the good work and show it off. Make sure your manager is aware, other leaders are aware. Make sure you demo your work regularly. So make yourself well known within your organization because if you're not well known, your work effectively doesn't matter. Good work isn't rewarded, but visible work is.
Right.
The second thing is, especially in 2025, you need to supercharge your workflow using AI. There are so many AI tools that you can use to create end-to-end projects within literal minutes. Things that used to took days now take minutes. For example, you can create a project, set up the dependencies, create an environment, and write the code using like an AI tool like warp.dev. It's one of my favorite tools. This isn't an ad, but it's one of my favorite tools because you can create things so quickly. And people who use AI will replace those who don't, because if I can do something in minutes that takes someone else days, companies are always going to prefer me over that other person.
Right.
So make sure you don't get replaced. The third thing is, and this is, I would say, not top 1%, but like top 0.1%, because so few people do it. And that is posting about your accomplishments online. So I recently interviewed this one engineer, and he mentioned that he's never had to apply for a job ever in his career, because the last two jobs, actually the founders of those companies that he ultimately worked at reached out to him via Twitter because he regularly posts about his coding projects and accomplishments on Twitter, and they're like, oh wow, you're impressive, you're smart.
Yeah.
And like, why do I have to interview you for your technical aptitude if I can clearly see it?
Right.
You know, and even nowadays, I'm thankfully not looking for a job, but if I were to, on LinkedIn regularly, I get DMs from recruiters, I get DMs from founders, people who want to work with me because I have a online presence and I talk about tech, so they know at least a semblance of my aptitude.
Right. No, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah. And I think all of these tips can be applied to any job families and technical job family. From somebody who has been in the industry and working in big tech for about 11 years, I can 100% attest to your number one point that doing the work is not enough. You actually need to basically market yourself and be loud and talk about your accomplishments, because if you don't talk about it, nobody else is going to go out of their way to learn about it. So. Sad reality, but that's the reality.
You got to play the game.
You got to play the game. You got to learn how to navigate the politics. Not play the politics, but navigate the corporate politics. So thank you so much for sharing that. This was obviously, like, people who are hearing, I'm sure like this was very helpful for them. So I do want to talk to you about some practical AI tips. But before we do that, I wanted to do like a segment that I do on my channel, which is called Rapid Fire, where I'm going to ask you questions, very fast-paced questions. Okay. You have not seen these questions.
Okay.
So some of them might be spicy and hot, but the idea is that, not trying to get you in trouble, the idea is that you're going to answer fast, like the first thing that you think of.
I'll try.
Okay. We'll start with easy ones.
Okay.
Tabs or spaces?
Tabs.
Dark versus light?
Dark.
Work from home, work from office?
Work from home.
Python or Java?
Python.
Is AI going to replace software engineer jobs?
Some.
Should CS degree still be required?
Required? No.
Most overrated programming language?
Brain rot. It's actually a language of it.
I've never
Jet Alpha.
Most underrated programming language?
Man, TypeScript.
The coding language that is rated appropriately?
Python.
Love it. What's the most overhyped tech trend right now?
Beginners vibe coding.
Yeah.
If you're a beginner vibe coding, no.
One thing you wish you knew earlier in your sweet career?
It's better to learn one thing very, very well than learning everything. I actually tried to, at one point, like, overwhelm myself with all the different things that you can learn. And then once you do that, you realize it's like an iceberg and there's so much under the surface that you can keep learning. Yeah. But instead of, which is also completely unnecessary, but instead of focusing on one path and doing that really well,
right,
I would say that's to focus.
Love it. Okay. So my last question, not part of the rapid fire, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to time you for 30 seconds.
Okay.
And what I want you to do is share software engineer roadmap for somebody who is completely beginner and new to software engineer. Okay. So I'm going to start the timer. And I'll show it to all of you guys. And the timer Go.
Okay, complete beginner, you got to first learn how to code. I recommend starting off with something like Python or JavaScript and start by building basic little projects like calculator, to-do list, just to get your mind working in terms of coding. Then after that, you got to upskill and create actual projects that have more impact on creating dashboards for small businesses or volunteer groups and all that. Throw those on your resume, have your resume reviewed, start applying, get referrals via LinkedIn and network around. Once you get that, interview prep, you gotta do your technical coding interviews, leak code. In terms of behaviorals, just learn how to talk, do a lot of mock interview practice, and eventually you should get an offer.
Love it. That was 40 seconds.
Dang it.
Close enough.
I thought I was talking fast.
No, that was very good. You covered it from end to end. So Thank you so much. Okay. So now, you know what happened yesterday? I was talking to Delia. We did a video together like this, and she mentioned that she learned some AI tips from you.
She did?
Yeah, she did.
Okay.
So one of the tips that she's like, my mind is blown, is because her itinerary was in PDF. And you basically told her to like upload PDF to ChatGPT and then export a CSV file, put it in the calendar, which I didn't know either. Yeah. So for our last question, we talked about AI briefly, but I wanted to dive deeper into it. Could you share like your most used AI hack as a software engineer that you learned and you were completely mind blown and you were surprised that other people don't use it?
Yeah, sure. So obviously we're both very busy individuals because we do a lot of different things. And so I use ChatGPT to really help me schedule sometimes.
Okay.
Like, for example, I'm at this conference and they gave me a scheduled itinerary, a PDF, but I want that in my Google Calendar. So one thing that I did is I uploaded my PDF to ChatGPT and I said, hey, I have the schedule, create a CSV for me that I can import into Google Calendar. And then it did that within minutes. I had a CSV, put that into Google Calendar.
Right.
GPT formatted it and everything. I didn't even look at the CSV. I just hit download and upload, and then popped it into Google Calendar. In seconds, I had my calendar filled up with the exact timing, the locations, the event names, everything. So that was amazing. It can also just generally help you schedule time. Sometimes I tell GPT, I need an hour to go to the gym. I need 2 hours for this meeting. I need 3 hours to do some deep focused coding work. Right. And it can help me schedule and optimize for certain things because sometimes you want to do certain things in the morning, evening, and it can learn more about you. So that's what I love it. It's kind of like my mini assistant.
Right.
Another thing on more of the developer front. So one of the biggest things that people struggle with, especially beginner computer science students, is understanding terminal commands like CD, ls, like why? Literally, why are these tools so complicated, right? And setting up environments has been a huge struggle. So I recently found this tool that I just talked about briefly, warp.dev.
Warp, how's it spelled?
WARP.dev.
DEV, okay.
And it's a terminal, but you can talk to it in natural English language. It can integrate with like Claude and the popular LLMs, and you type into it. It's like, create a Python environment for me because I want to create this coding project. And it'll run all the commands. It'll run the npm commands. If there's an error with it, it'll be like, this had an error. Let me rerun this command. Oh, it looks like you don't have this dependency. Oh, it looks like actually you need to download Python. Let me download that for you.
Wow.
Mind blowing. No need to go through heavy documentations anymore. No need to go through anything like that. In fact, sometimes using external AI tools to say like to debug your terminal doesn't even work. But having the terminal being integrated with the AI is so nice, right? That's sped up workflows so much.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I actually recently also tried a coding AI agent, and I had it built like a live dashboard for me, like a stock dashboard based on the stock tickers that I wanted to monitor. Literally did everything, like README file, project plan, even like a working live dashboard that literally gets updated every second.
Yeah, it's insane.
I didn't even write a single piece of code.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But if you're a beginner, like it's great to have access to these tools, but learn these things.
For sure.
So then you can actually validate what all these tools and AI tools are basically telling you to do. Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sajjad. Thank you for coming on my channel and sharing all the tips and tricks. I'm sure everybody who listened and watched this video, they learned something new. And where can people find you?
You guys can find me on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn.
Yeah, you're literally
everywhere.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And I hope you're having a beautiful day. I'll see you in the next video.
Bye.